On today's episode of Watch Jericho, we are out in the Audi TTS, 2019 TTS. I've never driven this before. Let's see how it is. What is going on, guys? I am Watch Jericho, and like I said, we are out in the Audi TTS, the coupe. And I just realized, of course, this is the last year for the TT. The Audi's killing off these things, but there won't be any more. I've driven it for maybe 15 minutes now, and I'm completely in love with this car. It's perfect. It's driver focused. There's nothing else that's beyond you and the wheel shifting. There's a lot of turbo lag, which is unfortunate, but wow, this car is good. It's like what the Miata could be. I'm out here just bombing down these back roads. That's a wide open throttle pull. It's not outrageously fast. Like, we're moving along, but it just gets up to speed quick enough. It's definitely missing all the sizzle all the new cars have, where they can get out of the hole in like a half second. This takes a long time. You floor it and it's like, boost! And when it comes to the boost, incredible. But what a driver's car. And you honestly don't need that launch when you're out just driving along, bombing down back roads with the cruise control set, just enjoying life. Seats are perfect. It's so nice. I like this car a lot. With Audi killing it this year, I didn't think I was gonna be in love with it, but wow, it's good. Let's go on a tour of the outside of the 2019 Audi TTS. But first, I have to give a huge thank you to Walser Audi for, I really just went up there to get parts for the R8, and then they distracted me and said I could take this for the day. And unfortunately, I fell in love with it. I've driven it quite a bit, and it's hard to express how good this car is for what it is. But up here in the front, we've got the Audi Sport wheels here. These are almost what you'd get on the RS. Of course, it has the S brakes. They're painted red. They look really good on Pirelli P0s, and they are 20s. So the stance looks right. I'd say the front end looks as good as it possibly could, almost like the baby R8. And it's got these amazing headlights that the high beams are basically like turning on the sun at night. It's incredible. Power folding mirrors, indicators in the mirrors. We've got a little turn signal indicator right there, so you know that it's on. Like I said, this does have all of the tech, but it's all hidden. There's no like blind spot information or anything like that. Not tons of tech in these mirrors, honestly, but they work great, and visibility is incredible. When you turn your head, it's almost like they designed this car so you could actually see out of it, which is not something you see in 2020, but when you turn your head, this window is killer. You can see right out the side of it, and honestly, there's not a lot of blind spot right here. So really, really good visibility from inside the TT. Looks great, really cool looking gas cap. Looks like the R8. It is capless, so you can just throw the fuel fill right in there. The rear continues the classic Audi TT lines. We've got some nice TTS badging. This brake light is awesome, and animated taillights. Of course, they do have to have the big bright flashing section to meet the US DOT requirements. Back of it looks great. This color looks great. It's micro gray metallic. I love it. And that's about all there is to say about the outside of this car. When you open the door, you get the Audi rings projected on the ground, the S in the door sills, and coming around back, we'll open the hatch up here. A very, very, very roomy hatch. And honestly, lots of cargo capacity. Those little tiny like half seats can flip down. You can fit a bunch more stuff in there. It's got a cover you can take on and off, cover up your cargo, and it has a warning, which is probably my favorite part right there, that says if somebody tall is sitting in the back, it might smack them in the head. It would be a tough time to put a full-size adult in the back of this car. Under the cover in the rear, there is a full-size spare, which is honestly a pretty rare thing to see these days. Now, let's open the hood and take a look at this turbocharged 4-cylinder power plant. All right, here we have the power plant in a very, very, very roomy engine bay. It might make all of the turbo lag, but look at all this room over here. Of course, the transaxle's in there, and this is all-wheel drive, so it's got the awesome Quattro system. Gives you crazy confidence in the corners, and I mean, they fit it all in here nicely. It has the upgraded coolant reservoir pod. If you are familiar with Volkswagens, you probably replaced a lot of the old ones in your life, the round one. This one seems a lot better. It seems like they might have fixed the engineering there. It's DI, you can see the TFSI logos there. So turbocharged, fuel stratified injection. Pretty simple, and the only quirk under the hood It's right here, there's a little door that you can open up to see the VIN number. So that's pretty funny. It's stamped on the frame there, or on the unibody, and I guess if it gets stolen, you can compare it to the windshield VIN. It's also a little bit odd that you fill the washer fluid from right here, all the way over under the side of the hood. Big, huge hood that I honestly think might be the same hood off the R8. I guess the R8 one drops a little bit farther down at the edges, but huge, round hood. Really, really big headlights too. They start back here and end up here. I'd say they're almost 15 inches long, so that is a huge headlight assembly. So to commemorate this perfect driving car, we're gonna come out here to a nice twisty back road, have a little bit of fun. That was just 3 corners. I hope you can see how good this car is. The grip is basically infinite. It puts it right where I want the car. It changes direction so fast because the weight's perfect. I'm in love with this thing. It's like a baby R8. It's time to put the camera away because I want to do some more driving. I found one problem with this car. We're gonna fix it. This car has most of the tech that you want, like Audi's awesome map system, and you can scroll around using the touchpad, of course, and zoom in and out, just like Google Maps on a computer. It feels very natural. All the climate controls, of course, have completely disappeared because they're in the vents, and you turn the center one for temperature, turn the vents to control each vent individually, fan speeds over here. There are so few switches in this car, and almost everything you want can be done from the steering wheel, which is perfection. Now, it is missing a lot of the tech that you'd expect in a pretty expensive car. This does run $61,000. It has basically every single TT option that there is on it. There's no auto lane keeping, there's no active cruise control. The one thing you can do is raise the spoiler. Push the button, spoiler goes up, hold the button, spoiler goes down. This car was just built for you to drive and nothing else. It does have wireless phone charging, which is one of my favorite features, and it's hiding down there in this compartment you can close. It looks really cool when it's closed. I just tossed my phone in there because I didn't want it in my pocket or in my lap, and it started charging, and I was like, perfect. I'm so glad that's there. Unfortunately, I have to go give this car back now. I kind of fell in love with this. So Audi proper, if you're watching this, I'd love to have a TTRS for maybe a long-term review, like a 1-month review. That would be optimal so I could really form some opinions on this car. But look at the beautiful Alcantara diamond stitch seats. You can grab a little handle right there and have a little extra leg support. The key can sit in there if you want it to charge. The wireless charging for the phone, USB ports and aux are perfect. Here's the center console. You got an extra cup holder and another 12-volt outlet hiding in there. And of course, the absolutely pointless back seats there to lower your insurance rates and give you a place to put your milk. For typical car usage, which is really just one person driving to work every day, I don't think you could drive anything better than this. You might not be able to do much else, but you will really enjoy your time. I don't know if I mentioned it, but that Bang & Olufsen system sounds incredible. With the windows down going, 70 on the highway, it sounds perfect. Like I said, it's time to give this thing back, so we are headed back to the dealership right now. That is it for the Audi TT. Once again, huge thank you to Walser Audi here in Wichita for hooking it up with that car for the last 24 hours. I am in love with it. Kind of want one. Kind of want a TTRS. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shopwatchjrgo.com where you can get cool shirts like this. And please, like, share, subscribe. Do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. I actually came over here to bring my scanner, my Autel MX808, because we were diagnosing this Impala over here. It seems like it's got a bad math. Whenever you plug the math in, it just dies almost immediately. So we tried cleaning it, no luck. They're getting a replacement right now, and hopefully it runs after that. They had to put a fuel pump in it. Before I got here, they were like, it still doesn't run after the fuel pump went in. So there's the old fuel pump, fuel sender, all that good stuff, typical GM fuel pump. And this thing's really clean inside. I'm sure it'll run nice again once that's done. How's the forklift action going?
It is almost done after a total
restoration.
Rebuild. Yeah, we've had a complete restoration on this old girl. It's got a Chevy V6 engine in it. One of the reasons I bought it, plus it was cheap, and it looked really horrible. This thing was completely brown.
Yep.
total, there was no paint on it. All rust. This black was all rust. Didn't say Heister on the mast there. You could just see the evidence of where it used to be.
Sure.
This thing here, somebody done a lift right here.
Oh,
so you can still just see a little bit of the bend. They'd thrown a chain over here and tried to lift with it, and caved this was all the way down sitting in here. So we pushed that back up and threw a stiff back on it.
Huh.
Didn't make it perfect, just trying to make it presentable.
Close enough.
And there's about the color of the whole forklift right there.
Yeah, that rust.
The whole thing was that color, every bit of it.
Huh.
Except some of the back still had yellow, and there was still a lot of yellow paint on it. We didn't paint it Heister yellow.
I saw cat yellow.
Yeah, we just use cat yellow for everything because it's a really good paint. Goes on nice. Tires were completely shot. We had to put new tires on it.
Those look nice too.
Now you kind of see what a lot of the paint looked like. It was this color on the outside, but it just covered with rust, and the thing was all bent up. These were bent and rusty. We straightened them out. This was all pushed down. Somebody, I don't know how they did that, but they had this thing bent down.
You just put a jack under it and lift, or another forklift?
Other guys, yeah, they used another forklift, I think. Heated it up and lifted this back up. These cylinders, somebody had thrown a chain or something over a hammer or something over both of them were damaged.
I saw you had new seals in them.
Well, yeah, we had new rods made. So
gotcha.
I took the old rods over to some folks here in Wichita, Carlson Hydraulics, and they made brand new rods, and they're pristine. All new seals in the cylinders.
Nice.
And we got new LED headlights. They'll be here next week. So we're going to move the headlights off the headache rack.
Put it on the mast?
Put them right over on the mast so that they'll be looking down at the ground. And then we got a blue light to go on the back.
Nice.
And this thing, it had a push button cheater switch up here because the starter didn't work.
Huh.
Just a bunch of stuff didn't work. This emergency brake was locked up, wouldn't work.
Oh, it looks like it's got a new cable.
We put brand new cables. Both these cables were replaced because we had to take the brakes completely apart.
Oh.
But now it's just a Chevy V6 carbureted
right.
Chevy V6. I took the carburetor apart, cleaned it, boiled it out in a soup, and put a kit in it and tuned it back up.
Seems like it runs now.
Somebody cut the wiring off, cut this wire off inside the loom.
For the starter?
That's where it used to be.
Oh.
So they cut it off flush. So I had to trace it out and find that wire in there, put the original wiring back.
Yeah.
And after I got everything fixed, now you just, when you want to start it, you put it, it won't start here, so it won't do anything. Well, I'll tell you what, I got this apart because I'm cleaning this bullet connector right here.
Oh, is that the parking brake?
Well, no, it's the main
ignition switch?
The main power to the dash.
I see.
And this one had a little bit of corrosion in it. Probably another reason why they had trouble. They didn't take very good care of this thing.
Sure.
They left it sitting outside, so everything was, even the ignition switch was pretty rotten. I didn't change the ignition switch. I just drilled a hole in the back of it and sprayed WD-4, sprayed a bunch of lubricant in until it came out, and then the switch started working right. And this is the only one that had corrosion, and it happens to be the main power, so I was just cleaning it out. Yep. Put a little bit of...
Which, this is just, the monitrol just goes like that's forward and that's reverse, right? And then you push forward and one kicks in and you hit reverse, the other kicks in?
Exactly.
Gotcha. That's what it looked like.
And then now we push this back together. Look at there. We got good ignition.
Yep, looks like the lights are nice and bright.
Okay. So now twist the switch, it should start.
E-brake's off.
Oh, yeah, twist it, it won't start, see? Now I turn it off, back on.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we pull it up, set the
switch.
This had a terrible rig in it before.
Yeah, it looks like you put a giant micro switch on it.
Yeah, but before the micro switch used to be mounted way up in here, and there was a wire that went into the slot. Can you see that slot?
Yeah, I see the slot.
That slot had a big piece of number 10 wire that came out and went into an arm that was on here. And of course it was broke off, and you could see where somebody had welded it. And what they expected was when you moved this thing back and forth, they expected that rod to go up and down in that slot. Stupid engineering design.
Yeah.
We went ahead and copied the one off our little Heister. We looked at it, put the same switch on it, and one of our guys here at the shop fabricated this little bracket and this little piece.
Yeah.
And now it looks exactly like the original.
It should start.
Starts right up, and then when you drop this, you can hear it go into gear.
Oh,
kicked off, it's in gear, and you push forward and reverse.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so then when you pull it up here, it automatically kicks it into neutral. Then we'll go. You can ramp it up, run it up, down. No, engine runs fantastic. That little old V6 purr. So another reason I was interested in it, not because particularly it was a Chevy V6, but just because
it's easy to work on.
It's easy to work on.
Yeah.
It's a V6, so if I ever need anything, I can pop that out of there and, you know, do whatever I want to it. And it was in relatively complete shape. Just had no care. Even these, well, you can't see it now. They got the bars. They got them back in. These were even broke out.
Oh.
I don't know how you do that, but I think somebody taken a chain and wrapped it around there and ripped these out. So the guys here put that all back together. They got a new nut in there.
It looks like a new bar, doesn't it? They just build these?
They might have built that whole thing from scratch. I don't know. The guys here did it, Jared and your brother and Joey. And there's a plate that's got to go back in there. And that's why they got all the plates painted up over here somewhere on the floor. They've got the floor plates and
saw that
somewhere. They're laying around here.
Is this
right over there.
They used an oil filter for the crankcase ventilation?
Yes.
That's pretty funny. It's like a remote oil filter setup.
There's your brake reservoir. So I took the governor apart. It all works good. It may need a radiator someday, but hey, this stuff's all
cheap.
It's actually, I think, a better heister than our little heister because it doesn't have one of them cheap. Our little heister has a little oil pump, a little hydraulic pump down on the side that's obsolete.
Oh, I see.
And when it quit, you couldn't even buy the parts anywhere in the United States. So I had to make the seals by hand to fix that little one. And that's the reason I bought that forklift for $500 because nobody could buy the parts for it. So I took it apart and made my own parts.
Nice.
And it's still holding and working. But this has that great big oil pump on the end right on the crankshaft. So.
Yeah, crank-driven pump there.
Yeah, so everything about this old dude is pretty simple. Plus, it's got a 2-speed gearbox. So when you put her in high, it roars. So now we've got that done. We're ready to put the plates in it next week. Pretty up the wiring, put the lights on it, and we're gonna lube them rusty old chains up.
Yeah, they do need that.
Yeah, they've already lubed them once, but they're gonna put another coat of lube on them, and this thing is ready for service. Then we gotta put a seat on it.
I saw that.
Then we gotta tear this one down. It's got a Perkins diesel in it. And that's a Cat R80 or R60. I can't remember one of them two. Anyways. It's been a workhorse. We've loved that tractor.
That thing does everything.
It's been you've used it a bunch.
Yeah, it seems weird that Cat has a single cylinder on the mast and this one's a tool.
Yeah, this will lift a lot more.
Okay.
It'll lift almost double what that Cat will lift. But this has got the nice tires on it for going out in the
off-road.
Well, for going out in the muddy area.
Yeah.
This one's pretty good for rocks and gravel and coming back in. But that one there we can go clear out in the pasture with it. But this one will have to stay in the gravel area. But now that one there's lost a cylinder.
Oh, yeah.
And we took all the injectors out of it and swapped them around, and the problem stays with one cylinder. And it's the one that has the lowest compression, 200 PSI, so it should have 450. So we're going to kit that one, but I don't want to tear that one. We're still using it, even though it runs terrible.
Yeah.
Until we get this one done. So this week, this one will be ready for service.
Throw that thing in the trash and get that little baby Cummins, RB26, the little 4-cylinder.
Too much work.
You'll have the most running forklift in the world.
I can kit that engine and put new it's got wet sleeves in it, so I can sleeve that thing, put new pistons and rings and bearings in. Whole kit's $450 or something like that.
But for only $26,000, you could have the coolest forklift in the world.
And we're still waiting on the cylinders for this big guy.
Yeah.
This thing is, we're having new glands made for it. And this is the rods and pistons out of it.
Oh, I see.
So that's a brand new rod.
Yep.
We had those rods made because the old ones were rusty and they were ruining the seals in the glands, but it turns out somebody had already beat us to this. And tried to, and when they tried to drive the gland seals out, they destroyed the guts of the gland seal. So I had to machine new pieces to, now you're not looking at it, but the glands aren't here. This is the nut.
Yeah.
This is just the nut that holds the gland on the front of the cylinder.